weed is a serious drug.
Loose stools. You have a choice in hospitals, so pick the one with the largest advertising budget. Mount Zona Medical Center. American plastic surgery is
Too expensive. Why not do like the...
Now, I definitely don't want to make like drug-related content the main niche I post on this channel, but I was scrolling around YouTube the other day and I saw this video that Joe Bart reacted to, basically advocating and warning for like the negative side effects of like abusing THC essentially. And coming from someone who isn't afraid to admit that they are reliant on THC on a daily basis, I thought it would be a really important topic to cover and give my personal experiences with, especially since I know there's like a lot of younger people out there who get influenced by like the crowd or their peers or whatever to start using THC. And you know, like I said, I want to share my experience because it's not all positive, especially if you're a daily user like me. The negatives start to outweigh the positives by a long shot. Apparently, the script for this video was written by someone who had been dependent on THC for over 15 years but quit. So it's not like this video is written by like some conservative white woman who thinks marijuana is the incarnate of demons trying to steal your butthole or something. It's written by somebody who has experience with the substance and the negative connotations that come with it. The video kind of starts off with the narrator kind of going on about how most people in today's society underestimate the harm that THC can do to your life. Most people will say things like it's not addictive or it's better than alcohol, which, you know, one of those things is true, but I feel like just because it's easier to function on weed than it is plastered as fuck doesn't mean it's any less harmful to your life long term. And that's one thing I do want to mention is most of the harm that comes from smoking weed is from consistent long-term use. If you're someone who smokes very casually, like a couple times a month or like on the weekends, and you don't plan on doing it for the rest of your life, sure, you may be affected a little bit, but you're okay. You're perfectly fine. It's when it starts to be a more consistent habit that it starts being more detrimental to your life. No matter how socially acceptable it becomes and how okay you think it is to do, I definitely think it's important for us not to pretend like it's this like perfect jack of all trades of a substance. The video goes on to explain that for most people who can moderate themselves, weed isn't really an issue. However, I think the statistic they said was 20% of all people who tried THC go on to develop cannabis use disorder. And some of those people become severely addicted to THC. 20% might seem like a really insignificant number, but I honestly could have sworn it was higher. Most people that I know, if not everyone I know that smokes weed, has a level of dependency for it. Pretty much everyone I know that smokes weed smokes it every day. I have very few friends who are like casual smokers. Like I said, that's a very isolated like test group or whatever, but pretty much all throughout high school, everyone was a daily smoker.
He'll still be alive right now if you niggas ain't gas him up.
So unless you're controlling yourself and moderating yourself with this substance, it's an inevitability that you will eventually have some sort of dependency for it. Whether it's you need it to have an appetite, or you need it to sleep, or you simply need it to enjoy simple things. If not careful, your life can very easily revolve around getting stoned. And it's obvious that daily use comes with negative physical consequences. But what most people tend to let slip past their mind is the consequences that it has on your life. If all you care about is getting stoned, then you'll prioritize everything else that actually matters lower than smoking a joint. And a lot of the time, people don't even intentionally disregard those negative life consequences. The more often you get stoned, the less and less you care about those consequences. The more you feel okay just simply being there, stoned. The narrator goes on to say that even before widespread legalization of marijuana in the United States, the number of people who use THC on a daily basis has been skyrocketing and has surpassed the amount of people that use alcohol on a daily basis. The reason this is so significant is because it just shows us how normalized weed has become. It shows us exactly how people went from viewing marijuana as this like almost like cocaine level, like, you know, heroin level drug to like this recreational use substance. I am not personally against that view. I don't think marijuana should be seen as this super dangerous like gateway drug or whatever, but I think we're kind of teetering into like the realm of how people used to view cigarettes in like the fucking 30s or whatever. It's becoming so socially acceptable and so normalized that it's almost as if people disregard the actual science behind weed and what it does to your brain. You know, honestly, I could be tweaking, I could be tripping, and it's also the fact, like I said, people just do not care. Like, a lot of people are actually aware of these negative side effects, but like I just don't care. And you know, honestly, if that's the case, then great. You know, I'm in the same boat. You know, you get a golden star. Now, the video briefly mentions the fact that when most people talk about the negatives that come from smoking weed, they talk about teenagers and how using a psychoactive drug while you're still early on in your brain development can be extremely detrimental. If you're around the age of like 21 to 25, a lot of the negatives of weed will still affect you, especially the ones that have to do with like your life and productivity. But at least your brain is fully developed. If you're any younger than that and like still early or like even in the middle of your brain development, you're gonna be shooting yourself in the foot here, and all of these negatives are gonna be like 10 times worse. At least if you're consistent with the habit and you don't really stop or moderate yourself, you're gonna be fucking cooked by the time you're 30. And just a fucking brief intermission here, I'm not excluding myself. I started smoking while I was 15. I'm gonna be fucking retarded. That is if I don't cut back or stop myself at some point. And the thing that really sucks about smoking super consistently is that weed just kind of loses its effect. Smoking weed starts off as this thing where it makes everything so much more enjoyable to do. Listening to music feels much more surreal. Eating your favorite meals and snacks feel like you're eating it for the first time again. TV shows and movies become so much more interesting and funny. But over time, all of that starts to work against you. If you rely on weed too much, all of a sudden, you need it to enjoy everything you once did. And the fucked up part is it won't even feel the same as it did before. That once lively high you got is replaced by this comforting numbness, this like brain fog almost. Like I said before, that brain fog, that numbness, it just keeps you there. It keeps you not giving a fuck. It makes you okay with that feeling. The narrator talks about abusing THC in your 20s and what that looks like. For a lot of people, including me, life feels really stagnant. Days kind of become blurs, and it's almost as if time is moving in slow motion, yet it's all vanishing. Because more often than not, when you get stoned, all you really want to do is sit around and doom scroll or watch movies. For a long time, you might not realize how much it truly is holding you back, because it creeps up on you and it makes you feel like it's not that big of a deal. But all of a sudden you look back and you realize you wasted so much of your time when you could have been doing so many other things. Speaking from personal experience, I could have been a lot more ahead in my music projects or in my education. I can paint the picture however I want, but the truth of the matter is weed has held me back in my life. Now, it's not like I'm unhappy with my life, you know. Thank God I'm at a point where I can be proud of myself and work hard at the things that I want to accomplish in life. You know, I'm getting straight A's in college, I'm working a job, and I'm participating in my hobbies. You know, it's all I really wanted out of life after high school. You know, I can't really tell anybody what to do, but you know, I definitely say if you're under the age of 21, especially if you're still in school, I definitely wait to try weed until your brain is a little fully developed, or honestly just try and avoid it altogether. But I know a lot of people are curious. I just want people to know the full gravity of what weed can do to your brain. So I definitely encourage anybody who's curious on trying this substance to watch this video. And even anybody who's currently a daily smoker or like even a casual smoker. You know, my purpose for this video wasn't to like high road anybody. I'm not your father. As long as you're aware of what you're getting yourself into, you have the right to do whatever you want. So just be careful out there. But yeah, that's about it. Later, man.